Hi, everybody. Welcome to Colorado. It's my home. I've been here for well over 20 years. What do you think of the state? All right, how many people are natives or live here? Show of hands. How many people flew in? Show of hands. Whoa! Okay. Well, you're going to enjoy the Rocky Mountain High. So, this is a community event, and I just attended another community event. How many people were at CNFTCon? Yeah. It's pretty impressive, isn't it? For a ghost chain, it doesn't look too ghosty to me. Is this like The Sixth Sense? Are you all dead people? No, of course not. And actually on the live stream, I think we have quite a few people watching as well. Cardano's grown a lot. It's grown so much that it's now become impossible to attend every event in the Cardano ecosystem. Cardano's grown to a point where the community is now deciding its fate and where it goes, what happens. In this room, we have developers, stake pool operators, NFT projects. We have people that run podcasts. We have people that write code, everything in between. What unites all of you is you're united in philosophy and solutions. Philosophy in that the things we care about, like decentralization, security, evidence-based software development, peer review, they tend to matter. Because if you don't do those things, bad things happen. Like you have to restart your network, or maybe your stable coin's not so stable. Well, actually, I guess zero is stable. Yeah, doesn't go anywhere. Right? These things matter. And we were told again and again and again and again, well, you couldn't possibly embrace those things because, well, Silicon Valley says move fast and break things. And if you don't do that, you'll never get a network effect. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling the network effect. A lot of great people in this room. You see, it's more than a product. It's a philosophy. It's a lifestyle. It's a belief that if we're going to change the world, we have to change the rules of the game. It's a belief that if we're going to do things, we might as well do things responsibly. Basic principles. Now, in terms of solutions, people are trying to build things, and it's hard to build things. You have to hire people. You have to hold events. You have to lead. You have to have a team. The age of social media, one of the things it did to the human race is it gave everybody the ability to have an opinion, which is a good thing. But it forgot to remind them that every now and then, beyond having an opinion, you actually have to do stuff. You actually have to build stuff. You actually have to be accountable for things. It is not easy running a company. How many people here do that? Show of hands. Yeah, look how many entrepreneurs and builders. Every single day there's a tax thing. There's a regulatory thing. There's an HR dispute. John doesn't like Jane. Jane doesn't like John. There's some complaint or issue that you have to deal with. You have a budget. You have to raise money. Last year was great. Bull market. Everybody's making money. Today, it's a bear market. Oh my God. Suddenly, the VCs aren't calling back. Yet you're here and you're building. Why? Because you want to change the world. You want to do something. You want to have agency over your life. So I think a lot about the next 5 years of Cardano, and I think about where we're going. And what's so important about these community events is that they're aggregation points for the future leaders and current leaders of the ecosystem we built together. Next year, there's going to be a members-based organization. There should have been one a little earlier. Mistakes were made. We move on, and we get that done. The point of a members-based organization is to unify the entire community so that we can all start talking to each other as one group. And we can start deciding things like how much privacy should Cardano have, the parameters of the system, where should they go and how should they be set, things like what technology should we invest in. Are you guys worried about quantum computers? If so, how do you want to solve that? What level of scale should we have at layer 1? What core infrastructure should we build? For example, Hydra is evolving quite nicely. There are about 12 different ways it could go. Should we do all 12 at once, or 1 or 2? You'll hear a lot from people saying we need a data availability layer. Sure, there's about 150 ways to do that. Some are centralized, some are decentralized, some require deep research, others can be done rather straightforward and simple. Where do we partner? Sidechains are coming to Cardano. It's a big one. Sidechains are our first opportunity to actually have a blockchain-to-blockchain partnership. Pretty impressive when you think about it. Basically, a sidechain comes in, it joins Cardano, and Cardano provides it liquidity. It provides it core infrastructure, provides it security and a community to work with. In exchange, that sidechain upgrades the functionality of Cardano. It could be privacy. It could be for IoT. It could be pretty much for anything. So what you can do is you can take some of these 20,000 blockchains, which are having trouble maintaining liquidity and security and their infrastructure, and maybe, just maybe, they could be forked and brought into Cardano. Now, why would we do that? It means that your ADA, instead of paying just staking rewards in ADA, you also get rewards in the sidechain's token. Wow, that's pretty incredible if you think about it. So these are partnerships. Suddenly, we're no longer adversarial, are we? We're talking about who can work with us. What can we provide to the rest of the industry? Each and every one of these things requires a lot of hard work, just like the work you do in this room. Each and every one of these things requires thousands of conversations, strategy, meeting after meeting, meetings of the mind. For that to work well, it requires us to be mature and professional. From time to time, I'm not. Because you know what? Fuck those guys. No, just kidding. I kid. Because no one's an island, right? No one can do everything. No one's always perfect. The grand lesson of Cardano is that people always let you down in some way. They can inspire you, they can lift you up, they can make you proud, and also they can really frustrate you and disappoint you. And that's the point. If one person could do everything, you don't need decentralization. The reason you need it is because one person can't. But together, as one community, we can, because we lift each other up and we help each other. Interdependency is the key of the cryptocurrency ecosystem, and it's how we win. You see, the most effective thing dictators and bad systems can do is teach you cynicism. Because what cynicism does is it infects your mind and it gets you into a belief pattern, a thought pattern. You can't change things. Everything you do won't change. I just met with commissioners from the CFTC, and they were great meetings, very productive meetings. But one particular commissioner said, you know, no legislation is going to pass next year. So we just got to figure out how to make it work within the existing system. And I say, why? Every congressman I meet with, senator I meet with, Democrat, Republican, every person I meet with in the executive branch, they want to pass something. We accept the political realities that during the midterms nothing is going to get done, but after that, why couldn't we work together? They said, because Washington doesn't work. That's cynicism. It doesn't work because we choose to believe it doesn't work, and we reinforce that behavior again and again and again, and somehow perception becomes reality. The first demon we have to slay is the cynical belief that we can't work together, we can't come together. People can surprise you. Old enemies can become friends. People who were unreliable can suddenly become reliable. Avenues open up, economies change. Never in my mind did I think that some things would happen that have happened in our industry, and allies to come in our industry who I thought never would actually be there. Every now and then people disappoint you, but that's the point of decentralization, the second principle we must never lose. Decentralization is a safety mechanism. It endows a system with resilience. See, I live on a ranch, and one of the things you always know as a rancher is that fires are a part of life, and they're very destructive. You fly through the mountains, you'll see all these destroyed trees, devastated areas. But real ecosystems, they bounce back. Despite the fact that these terrible fires come in and they damage everything, there's still life. There's still animals. There's still creatures. Why? Because there's resiliency in that ecosystem. If there was just one plant, one type of animal, they'd go extinct. But there's many. The diversity of the system is what makes the system strong. This is the core lesson of our industry. In addition to the fact that each and every one of you is equal and has the ability to contribute in ways you never imagined, thus don't be cynical because you have agency. See how many small business owners there are here? Some of which won't be small one day, they'll be big. Decentralization is absolutely necessary. Come November 18th in Scotland. Anybody ever been to Scotland? Yeah, a few, show of hands. It's the best place in the world for whiskey. A year like this, you definitely need it. Why does it have to be a dry year? But we're going to announce the Edinburgh Decentralization Index, talk about it, but basically it's just a concept of how do you measure decentralization. Because I am goddamn tired of being in an industry where every single person says, we're decentralized. We're decentralized. What the fuck does it mean? We don't have a way of measuring it. It's like saying we're performant, we're fast. You know, we have this, these are just puffery, these are just words. And the problem is that decentralization is a measurement of resilience, it's a measurement of control, it's a measurement of reliability, and it is incumbent in the way that protocols are designed. Each and every one of you are building protocols or building on top of protocols. This is a necessary piece of information for you to assess whether what you've constructed is a house of cards or it's something that can stand the test of time, like those forests as they rebuild. Wouldn't it be nice for the industry to come together and just figure it out? Well, I got tired of waiting. I told everybody this back in 2015, 2016, 2017, and it's just like Thanos with the gauntlet. Fine, I'll do it myself. I said, all right, let's just create a lab. So that's what we did. And then we told the CFTC and others, and they said, boy, that sounds really useful. We need something like that. Can you give it to us? Probably will end up being the way of determining sufficiently decentralized, the difference between a security and a commodity in our industry. Just that simple. Now, I'm not a lawyer. Play one on TV. You know, I'm not particularly qualified to measure the level of decentralization of a cryptocurrency. So what I did is I hired a great team of people, of lawyers, of cryptographers, of distributed systems people, and found a great partner, the University of Edinburgh, to do it. Brought them together and said, go do it, here's some money. And now it's objective and neutral because it's embedded within a university, and they'll start with Bitcoin and work their way down. And it's a tool that we in the industry can now use as a steer. Why did we need it? Because if you're in charge, you're running the members-based organization, people are going to come to each and every one of you as ADA voters and ask you to embrace protocol XYZ versus protocol ABC. A great example will be input endorsers. We're going to announce all the SIPs towards the end of the year, likely at the conference, the big Cardano summit. There will be implications, positive ones. For example, the throughput of the system will go up significantly. We'll have lots more TPS, actually for Cardano, TPT transactions per transaction. Great. But it's a fair question to ask, does the existence of a system like this centralize or decentralize Cardano? Simple question. And what objective metric do we have to answer that? You as voters, you as people in control, need to have tools that you trust in the back of your pocket to be able to do that. So I gave you one for free, the EDI, the Edinburgh Decentralization Index, but there need to be others. And you have to build them. Everybody is equal in that respect. That's why these events are so important. They're great opportunities for you to meet each other. They're great opportunities for you to collaborate with each other, but they're also great opportunities to get philosophical, because this is one of the few venues where you really have the right and obligation to do so. You have to think carefully about what are the questions we ought to ask. What's the culture we ought to have? And you notice something, if you do that a lot, you're not talking about people, you're talking about ideas. You're talking about the future. You're talking about good governance. That is what differentiates us from everyone else. And that is what is going to mean we're going to be around in 50 years or 100 years or 200 years. This nation was a great example of it. When our founding fathers won a really brutal, horrible war against the most powerful country in the world, as a ragtag group of rebels. They earned the right to do whatever the hell they wanted to do. And they had a brief window of time to think about what should they do. Instead of arguing over who was going to be king, arguing over how they could make peace with France and England, instead of arguing over how to chop up the spoils of war, which is usually what happens after you win a big war, they got philosophical. They went as far back as ancient Greece. They were quoting Thucydides. They were talking about the Athenian democracy. They were talking about the Roman Republic. Imagine that. No internet. Must have been a boring time. You know, and all these people just sitting in a room trying to figure out how do we build something that will last a totality of time, hundreds of years, thousands of years, and be an inspiration to the entire world on how to do things differently. And everybody thought they were batshit crazy. They said, oh, that'll never work, it'll fail. And then the French Revolution happened, and Europe was getting real scared about it. They said, wait, hang on a second here, guys, we thought you weren't serious. And they did change the world. Look how powerful America is today, and look at all the blessings we've gotten from where it got. Now, did we continue to reinforce that philosophical thought? Not really. We allowed ourselves to become too comfortable with the decisions that were made in the past. Which brings me up to my next point, which is everything ought to be mercilessly examined and re-examined and discussed. Every design decision IOHK made, every design decision Agalos made, Duncan made, I made, it was good for a moment in time. But it doesn't mean it's permanent. The K factor, other things. The point of the SIP process, the members-based org that's coming, is so that you have the mechanisms and means to every year and say what is still true and what ought to change. This is why blockchain-based governance is so important, and frankly, it is the key differentiator between us and everyone else. Others say it's too hard, or they say, well, we should just hand the keys to 5 people and they'll figure it all out, these enlightened philosophers and scholars. It's a lot harder to say, I trust you. Goes back to the cynicism, point number 1. If you're cynical, you can't trust people. You think everybody's stupid. You think everybody's incapable of doing things, that people can't rise to the occasion. You're conditioned and trained to look at people with disgust, doubt. But if you believe in people, you're optimistic, if you actually think people, if given a shot, will do great things and enable others to do great things, you'll actually trust those people enough to reevaluate every single design decision you made, for better or for worse, fully accepting that they could fuck it up. And they have to have the right to do that. Every generation has to have the right to end all of it and do something different. Because that's what freedom's about. And every now and then, the people that come after you, turns out, are smarter than you. It's a pretty magical thing. Look at the events you guys put on versus the ones I put on. They're fun. You know, it was great going to Vegas. It's great coming here. I can't wait to see the exhibition area and see what you guys have. I didn't invent any of this. You came up with this. And apply this towards a governance stack. That's pretty cool. So people often ask, what's the role for I.O. moving forward? What do we do? Are we leaving? Are we staying? Well, we'd like to stay. That's your choice. The other thing is that we have a lot more contributions to make, and there's many things we can do now that there's a stable ecosystem to go above and beyond what we started with. I was real worried about plumbing, the wires that go underground. I was real worried about the things people couldn't see, like decentralization and protocol design and all this stuff, and we've done a damn good job with it. 150 plus papers, millions of lines of code, and obviously the system works. Believe it or not, you can even stake without locking your funds. Go figure. That's a novel concept, right? Just don't tell Team Green about that. They haven't figured it out yet. They'll get the memo at some point. Somebody else has to tell them, though. So that's great, but wouldn't it be nice to have 1 billion users? Wouldn't it be nice to actually be the financial operating system of the world? Wouldn't it be nice to have people in every single country using your stuff and my stuff, and Cardano is an actual protocol like TCP/IP. It's ubiquitous in that respect. That's what I'd like to spend the next 5 or 10 years thinking about, worrying about. So how do you get there? Well, we have a great product that we're announcing here, and I don't want to spoil it, but I will say a little bit about it. So we thought for a long time, what would a portal look like? What would a platform look like? What would an ecosystem look like that brings everybody together? That takes the best of what we've done with Cardano, but then merges it with the best of what's been done in other ecosystems like Ethereum and Bitcoin, because believe it or not, they apparently have some stuff to contribute too. I know it's a surprise to me. We call it LACE. There's a beautiful booth. There's a lot of the team here, and they've been working real hard for almost a year now. And what's cool when you start from a basis of cryptography and protocol design is you can do some really nifty, neat things. Like you can talk about stuff like how do you get full node security with a light wallet? Mithril. Well, you have to invent a protocol. Now what's so cool is if you're thinking interdependent, decentralization, resilience, how do you build that in a way where the network runs it instead of just one operator? Are there any SPOs here? Yeah. Have any of you taken a look at the Mithril documentation yet? Yeah, there's a few. Just getting started. That's the magic of these things. If you build it for everybody, everybody will use it. And that means every wallet in the space now gets to have that level of security. LACE can be the first mover, but it's not the only mover. And there's so many other things. Building an identity-first wallet. That's coming because we'd like to have human-readable addresses. We'd like to have estate planning. What if we get hit by a bus? It's really hard if the only person who has access to the keys is the person who got hit by a bus for grandma to get her crypto. Well, wouldn't it be cool to have structures and systems where you can kind of plan all that out? And for example, if you don't unlock your wallet over 120 days, it just gets swept to a custodian or something like that. Turn it off if you want. But if you ever lose your keys or you ever get hurt, then it means your family isn't broke. If you want to live in a crypto-first environment, that's a pretty important thing, estate planning. That's just one of thousands of examples of problems we're going to have to solve when we get to 1 billion people, when our users start dying. Someone asked Mark Zuckerberg in his mid-20s, a few years into Facebook, he said, well, how does Facebook handle users dying? And he said, oh, I don't know yet. Why? Because they're all college students. They're in their 20s. You don't think about it. But if you have billions of people, thousands, tens of thousands of users die literally every day. You see, and so these are the thoughts we must have, more but otherwise, about the realities and natures of having such a large user population. How do you white label this technology? How do we make it so that everybody uses common infrastructure so that people enjoy security? What is the official Cardano wallet? There shouldn't be one. It's decentralized, right? So how do you differentiate good wallets from bad wallets? Well, that presupposes the notion of certification. Well, who writes the standards? Well, that means we have to have a members-based organization, right? Oh, okay. See how it's all interconnected, how it all comes together? But if we figure it out, what does it mean? It means it's not only better, faster, and cheaper, but it's safe. And we don't have $35 billion of hacks. We don't have a situation where every day things fragment and split. So the magic and power of LACE is it's our exploration on how do we build something that brings the space together. How do we build something that brings people together, dApp developers, stake pool operators, the governance of Cardano, and the other blockchains, and give them a great experience that they can use to be a portal to their entire financial operating system, whether they use NFTs, whether they use cryptocurrencies, whether they use security tokens, everything is in scope in the long term. We tried to build it in a very new way. You know, we took some of the stuff we learned from the past, all the Haskell stuff, but then we brought some new stuff in, like TypeScript, because you need web standards. And we thought a lot about how do we build it in a way that brings everybody together. This is our first attempt and our first approximation. It's balanced in many different ways, and I hope you all enjoy it. But it's not a success unless LACE has partners, which is why I brought the LACE team here. There's Alex Appledorn and Dan and all the others. And they're here to talk to you because LACE has modules. You can build DEXs into it, NFT marketplaces into it, your dApps, your ideas can become their ideas. If you've got a metaverse, might be a metaverse somewhere around here, I don't know. Maybe they're wearing swag or something. Hey guys. Well, it'd be nice to integrate, wouldn't it? And that's the power of us. So we got a lot to do. It's a very busy year to close out. Next year will be the busiest and most interesting year in Cardano's history. Probably our biggest year for real meaningful growth as well. And what we're going to do is just show the industry on how to get it done. They cannot forget their principles, because sometimes they do. They cannot allow greed and hubris to overcome the need for using this technology for the good for all. We're still focused on Africa. In fact, we'll have more RealFi, more Africa Play next year than I think we've ever even conceived of. We have real partners like Possession and others, and they're actually doing real things like building microfinance marketplaces, which with Lace, we actually can now introduce to the Cardano community. Stable coins are coming, all kinds of cool infrastructures coming, and it's infrastructure you're building, infrastructure we're building it all together. Hydra is coming, Mithril's coming, all these amazing things to lift you up and help you get it done. But the crown jewel of all of it will be the age of Voltaire. It's what we're going to be talking about so much, I'll get so tired of mentioning it, but it's really the self-determination, because that's going to harness the brilliance and capability of each and every one of you and apply it towards the future of our system. Now, if we get it right, over the long term, my belief is Cardano's going for #1. We're going to be the largest cryptocurrency and blockchain ecosystem in the world, because we earned it. And if we get it wrong, we'll still be #1. Because we'll still be fucking huge, and we've left behind a gargantuan legacy of open source research. I've never understood the tribalism with respect to Cardano. I understand that people don't like me. Sometimes self-inflicted. I am kind of an asshole. But at the end of the rainbow, what does our success and our presence actually mean? We bring lots of new people into the cryptocurrency space. We leave behind tons of patent-free research, all this amazing code. We figured out how to bring smart contracts to the UTXO model. We figured out how to do certified smart contracts. We brought the entire Haskell and functional programming ecosystem to the cryptocurrency space. We innovated in the consensus world. There's over 10,000 citations in our portfolio. The longer we're around, the more topics we touch, from identity to privacy to other things, and each and every one of these things belongs as much to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the rest of the gang as it does us. So why the hell would you hate somebody like that? It's like just someone shows up in a wild field and makes a beautiful garden, and because you don't happen to own the garden, but it's open to all, you keep trying to burn it down. It's a strange, strange thought. We should never become like that. I don't think success is going to be measured by the price of ADA or the population we have. We don't lose people. We keep growing. That's going to be fine. Success is going to be measured by the character of the community. That's the final thought I'd like to bring to everybody here. We have to be nice. We have to be welcoming. We have to be open. In addition to eschewing cynicism, this needs to be like a family for everybody, the biggest in the world. And we need to understand that if we're not that way, we only hurt ourselves, myself included in that. So thank you for coming to this event. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. It means the world to the organizers here. It's really cool to see so many faces, some new, some old, some who are good friends, and some who will become friends. We are united in this belief that we can do better. We look to history, and we look to the future. And I hope the future will be decentralized. Thank you.